Today we're talking all about how I am training my puppy to talk to me using buttons.
Outside.
Hi, it's Charlotte with Dogs. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Don't forget to subscribe for dog content and dog social media tips. What are you doing, ma'am? The way I've trained Ginsburg to use the buttons is a lot different than the way I've trained Starsky, so this video is going to share this different training method for using the talking buttons. Step number one to get started with the talking buttons with Ginsburg was to talk to her all the time. If you've seen my videos, that is no surprise to you. Are you gonna do that again? I talk to my dogs all the time anyway because I live alone and frankly it gets lonely. I want someone to talk to, so I talk to my dogs. But I also talk to them all the time because it gets them used to my voice and it gets them used to listening to me with communicative intent. Communicative intent just means I am talking to them with purpose. Of course, I'm also using other forms of communication to communicate my messages to my dogs. So I'm using a lot of body language, context clues, and on occasion bribing with treats. But regardless, they are getting used to me communicating with them. They also really start to pick up on words because they learn that I say a certain word when a certain thing happens. Starsky has learned the word bone, treat, cookie, vet, hike, ride. These are all words that he already knows and Ginsburg is learning. They learn those words just by me talking to them a lot. And they start reacting to the words as well. They use the context as well as the word to figure out what it means. Step number two is I started with an outside button. You want to start with a clear and comprehensible idea for your dog. An outside is very clear. We're in or we're out. It's also something they're motivated to press because they want to go outside, especially when they have to go to the bathroom. So it is something that's motivating, but not too motivating. Language and canine behavior experts all say if you have a food motivated dog, do not start with a food related button. It will just become a trick that they can use. I then started modeling how to use the buttons. So I used my own foot or sometimes my hand to tap the button as well as repeat the word itself. Bedtime.
Bedtime.
So I would say outside, hit the outside button, we would go outside. And then over time, the dogs pick up that that's what that means. Not all dogs do pick up on modeling, and this was Ginsburg. Ginsburg is a very smart dog, but for whatever reason, modeling is not her best learning method. Modeling is definitely a really good place to start because it is the most natural way to learn language, but it might not work for all dogs. Because modeling didn't work for Ginsburg, I did have to get a little creative. So I started by encouraging her to use her paws. I started teaching her a nose touch and then I moved on to a paw target. Then we did a lot of work differentiating the two. We also do dog sports, one of which is barn hunt. The objective of that is to find a rat in a PVC tube and tell the handler. At practice, when she would use her paws to tell me where the rat was, I would get like really excited. So she would get used to using her paws and that being a good thing that would elicit praise from me. I also did have a treat button, but only for training sessions. So we would do a few sessions where she figured out if I press this button, mom gives me a treat. However, this was not on the board because Starsky cannot have them. And I did that to introduce her to the concept of pushing buttons with her paws. Even if it didn't generalize, at least she had the concept in the back of her mind. The biggest difference for Ginsburg from reacting to the buttons to actually pressing them on her own was when I straight up just taught her how to press a button with her paw. So I already had the paw target trick. So I taught her how to press the button, put my hand over the button, I'd tell her target, she targeted my hand, and press the button. Then I would put my hand under and she wasn't necessarily going for the button, but she would press it in targeting my hand. Again, getting used to that idea. And I did each of these steps for maybe 1 or 2 days. Then I had my hand just next to the button and that's when it clicked for her. So she would target my hand, hit the button, I would react, I'd be, oh yeah, we can go outside. And we would go outside. That enthusiastic response really encouraged her to use the buttons. And then she did it again later on that night. Now she uses them very consistently to go outside. I also encourage use of the buttons by making it hard for her. And I don't mean that I'm denying her anything. If she has to go outside and she can't figure out how to use the button, of course I'm gonna take her outside, right? But what I'll do is if she walks over to the door and stands next to it, I kind of ignore her for a little bit and give her a chance to work through it in her mind. How can I communicate that I need to go outside outside more effectively to mom. She'll work through it maybe 10, 15 seconds, and then she'll press the outside button usually. So that just encourages use of the buttons as the most effective form of communication. Now, again, if she couldn't figure it out, of course I would take her out. I'm not abusing or neglecting my dog, but I am encouraging her to problem solve, which is a good skill for a dog to have. She also has some other buttons. Right now, our biggest focus is on water, bedtime, and water. She will react appropriately to bedtime and water. She knows what they mean. She just hasn't generalized yet that she can also press those buttons to get what she wants. We're getting there. We are focusing primarily on water, so I'm doing the paw targeting process with the water button again whenever she or Starsky is thirsty, just to emphasize to her, look, you can press this button too, and this button makes me get water. Of course, I am very hopeful that she will not need me to teach her to target every single button, but we'll learn that the buttons are for communication after she's learned how to use a few of them. Right now, we are about 1.5 buttons in. We will see what happens. Make sure you subscribe to get updates on Ginsburg's progress and learn more about canine AAC. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys. You got my earring. Can you chill for 30 seconds?